So in this video, what I thought I would show you is how to use just a limited number of supplies and paints to create a little series of prints, because sometimes when you're jelly printing you can really get overwhelmed with the number of stamps and stencils and texture tools and the different kinds of paints that you can use. And I know that in my own art room I've got loads of these, and especially if you're wanting to do just a quick printing session, it can be very overwhelming. You can end up having a dried out plate because you have so many things in front of you and you're not quite sure what it is that you're going to be using, so you can end up looking for different things to use and end up with prints that you're not very happy with because your paint has dried out on the plate. So in this one we are just using 2 stencils, the masks that came from cutting those stencils, because these stencils were the ones that I made myself on my Cricut machine, although you can use any stencils that you've got. It does work better if the stencils have larger holes in them so that they pick up quite a lot of paint rather than smaller stencils or stencils with a picture. So these are just pattern stencils. I'm using cheap craft paint and also some of the cheap Liquitex. It's just the student grade paint. So I've just got those in a variety of colours. By limiting yourself, you can work up a little series really quickly just by using different colour combinations, and also by putting the stencil down on the plate in different ways. So we've got no texture tools here, just the stencil. Now I am registering my paper on the plate by making sure that every time I place it down I have it lined up against the corner of that Perspex blocks that my plate is stuck to. So that's quite a good, easy way of registering and lining up your print so that every time you put it down, you get it down in the correct position. So in this video, you'll see the different prints that I made just from these few supplies. So I started off just making a print with some hot colours. So in reds and yellows and oranges, and then a purple, which of course kind of balances between the hot and cold spectrum of the color wheel. Make sure that you have quite a thin layer of paint on your plate, so brayer off any excess. I actually do it straight into my sketchbook because it's a really nice way of adding a layer of paint into my sketchbook rather than putting it on scrap paper. So out of camera shot here, my sketchbook is sitting and I'm just braying off any extra paint that I don't want on the plate, because I've sometimes have the tendency to put too much paint down when I'm squeezing paint out of the tube. It's a fine line between getting the right amount of paint on that plate there. I then move on to doing some cold colours with blues and greens, and I've put a grey and a black into that mix as well. Each of these sets is giving me a main print and a ghost print, so work between the 2 pieces of paper going backwards and forwards, and that's where you can experiment as well. You could make the main print on just on one sheet of paper and all of the ghost prints on another sheet of paper, or you can switch it up a little bit and put the ghost print down first and then the main print on top of a ghost print, and so on and so forth. You'll get different kinds of effects by doing that, and it's just a matter of experimenting. But when you're wanting to experiment, sometimes it's really nice to just experiment with just a couple of things rather than getting everything that you've got on your table out. That way that you can see how these things work for you, and that can then lead to incorporating other materials that you might have. So for example, I might then want to use the same stencil and incorporate 1 or 2 texture tools into the process. After I do the cold colours, I also will show you how you can get a very different effect by using metallic paints on black paper. It gives a really nice effect, and actually the black paper that I used here was slightly textured. It had a little bump to it and it gave a really nice effect. And then I also do a little series where I'm mixing the hot and the cold colours, so we've got a mixture of both. And then another little series of prints using just monochrome colours, because actually this stencil was created by looking at images of pebbles and drawing round some of the pebble shapes to create the stencil. So that then made me think of making a monochrome print that reminded me of stones. So you could then take it one step further and you could manipulate this more and make them look more like stones if you want to. So that would perhaps be my next step with these prints. So I'm going to play some music now and you can watch the rest of the video, and I hope that it gives you some ideas for just using limited supplies on your jelly plate. And if you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe and also give me a thumbs up. And if you want to leave any comments about ideas for future videos, that would be great, or any questions that you've got, I'm happy to try and answer them when I've got time. And I will list the materials that I've used in the description of the video. So thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of the video.
donde subí, subí. Y el movimiento circula hasta el centro. Un aro de fuego, aro de fuego. Lo voy pensando y lo